Hello everyone. Tonight we're going to do Module 3, Lesson 11, and we will be subtracting fractions making like units. So this will be very similar to what we've been doing the last couple of days with addition, except of course we will be taking away instead of adding to. Let's start out by subtracting 1/5 from 1/3. And I would like to encourage you all to work along with me and please practice making your work neat and organized so that when we take the test, I can look at it and easily see how you're thinking. So the first thing I want to do is write 1/3 and 1/5 a second time, and I'm going to make the lines between my numerator and denominator a bit bigger so I have room to show what I'm multiplying by. So we're going to multiply each fraction by the number in the other fraction's denominator. So we're going to start out by 1/3 multiplying by 5/5, and 1/5 we will multiply by 3/3. I would like to see what number you're multiplying by, and then the next step you're going to actually do the multiplication and show me the equivalent fractions. In this case, 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. So 5/15 is equivalent to 1/3. And we'll move on to the next fraction. 1 times 3 is 3, and 5 times 3 is 15. And so 3/15 is equivalent to 1/5. And now I can easily see how to subtract 5/15 minus 3/15 will equal 2/15. My last step is to look at my numbers and see whether or not they are in simplest form. 2/15 I can see that it is in simplest form because one number is even and one number is odd, so I know that 15 cannot be divided by 2, and 2's only factors are 1 and 2, so they can't have any factors in common. Okay, hopefully you all found that problem on the quiz fairly straightforward. Now we're going to bump up the complexity a little bit by subtracting a fraction from a mixed number. And there are 3 different ways that we can do this, so I'd like you to work through all 3 ways with me and then choose the one that makes the most sense to you to use in the future. And you may also find that different methods work for different numbers. So we're going to subtract 3/5 from 1 3/4, and in method 1 we're going to decompose 1 3/4 into its parts, which is 1 plus 3/4 minus 3/5. And we're going to turn our 1 into a fractional expression of a whole number, 5/5. So our new expression is 5/5 plus 3/4 minus 3/5. Now I can easily subtract this 3/5 from my 5/5 over here in my head. That's going to be 2/5. I'll have 2/5 left over. Then I'm going to add that 2/5 onto the 3/4, and I will use my usual method. I'm going to run out of room at the bottom here, so I'm going to start working off to the side. 2/5 times 4/4. I'm going to use this denominator over here. And then the weird thing about this is I've already done my subtraction, so what I have left here is an addition problem. I did my subtraction up here when I took away the 3/5, so now I'm adding this 3/4 back in. and I'm going to take 3/4 and multiply it by 5/5. It's that denominator. And when I do that, I have 8/20 plus 15/20. When I add them together, I get 23/20. I can take one whole out, 20/20, and I have 3/20 left. So this method is fairly complicated. It's good for people to use if you're doing mental math to figure a fraction in your head, but it might be a little confusing for most of you. So let's move on to method 2. Okay, this time around we are still going to decompose 1 3/4 into 1 plus 3/4 right away, and then subtract the 3/5. And we are going to kind of separate that 1 out and subtract the fractional parts. Since 3/5 is smaller than 3/4, we can do this easily, and we'll kind of just leave the 1 out of it until the very end when we add it back in. So we'll go ahead and take 3/4 times 5/5, and then we'll subtract 3/5 times 4/4, and 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 5 is 20, so we have 15/20, and we're going to subtract 3 times 4, which is 12, and 5 times 4 is 20ths again. And when I do that, I have 1 plus 3/20, which of course is going to be 1 3/20. That took fewer steps. It was pretty straightforward. It worked really well in this problem because the fraction we were subtracting was smaller than the fraction in the mixed number. Let's take a look at method 3 and see what that looks like. Okay, in method 3, we are going to turn our mixed number, 1 3/4, into an improper fraction. So I know there are 4/4 in 1 plus that 3/4, and then we'll subtract the 3/5. 4/4 plus 3/4, of course, is 7/4. So I'm going to put some parentheses there to show I'm doing that first. 7/4 minus 3/5. And now we will multiply by the other fraction's denominator. And it looks like I wrote a little too big, so I'm running out of room. I'll start going across instead of down. 7 times 5 is going to be 35. And my new denominator is 20. I have 35/20 in 1 3/4. And I'm subtracting 12/20 from that. That are 12/20 and 3/5. And 35 minus 12 is 23/20. And of course 20 will go into 23 one time, and I'll have 3/20 left over. So if you would like to go back and look at those 3 methods again before you do the quiz, think about which one of those makes the most sense to you. And then there are 2 problems on the quiz. Take your time, do a good job, show me what you know, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.